Good day from George, South Africa, and I can assure you that this day is a definite assurance that winter has arrived on the shores of South Africa, because many people don't realize this. However, my friend Jacques, but winter is in this time of the year while summer is in the northern hemisphere. So just to get that picture very, very straight, right to begin with, I just want to introduce my friend, Jacques van der Merwe, and we've had quite an interesting week this week.
We had a very interesting week.
There has been a lot of pressure points, but we can also look back on a very, very special program from last week as well.
The American one.
The American team, and as a matter of fact, they were watching after they went back and got a few people to join with them.
Very, very, very nice. Yeah, they're pretty cool people.
You know what? The effect that they had here upon the children here in this city was just immense. And as you can tell from their sharing, they were really big-hearted people.
Yeah.
And that was very crucial.
But you see, that's why I'm always saying you can only give what you've got. And what they've got, they were giving, and it was easy for them, but it was really amazing what they had.
Yeah,
What they have.
Very, very much so. And it's just unfolding and beginning to get further revelation about after being here, because they can see certain transferable things that they can take back to
That's nice.
Hilton Head, South Carolina.
South Carolina.
There's a lot of things about South Carolina that are quite beautiful, actually. In fact, our daughter lived there for a while.
Okay.
We didn't talk about that last
which
week.
one? Which
Merlani.
one? Okay.
Merlani was there for a period of time, but she was living in that part of the world where they have incredible golf courses and country clubs and
nice.
all that kind of stuff.
But it's hot during summertime. It's like
Now,
really hot.
Really hot
humid.
and very humid down there, especially where Travis and Amy come from. That is really a very soaking kind of a place. If it gets hot, you know it.
I had a wedding there one year while I was at camp. Well, after camp, actually. Some of the counselors got married. And we had a wedding close to Charleston in South Carolina.
Beautiful.
And I'll tell you what, it was hot and it was humid and it was like we almost died.
Everybody has got air conditioners down there.
Air conditioner. Well, it was an outside wedding, so air conditioning didn't help much.
All right. So
Let's get started.
gone through all of that nonsense,
I think it's the hats.
let's talk about the
must
hats.
be. Yeah.
I was just coming to that because, ladies and gentlemen, we are wearing our Sallywood City hats. We're going to get into that in a little bit.
We need to tell them why it's called Sallywood, because there's a lot of people that are asking us, why Sallywood?
Well, England has pinewood. India has
Bollywood.
Nigeria has,
Nollywood.
America has,
Hollywood.
so we have
South
Sallywood.
African. South African
Africa.
Hollywood.
South Africa. That's what it's all
It's a
about.
funny name. It's a funny name.
It is a funny name, and most people are kind of saying, well, it's unique. But
It's definitely unique.
And some are trying to get used to it and not getting used to it. But,
No, it seems like Tanny Sally was living in the woods down there, and that's
You
why
said
it's
that.
called Sallywood. So it's Sally's Woods, We
yeah.
might just have a Tanny
Well, we're
Sally
going to get
one.
rid of those woods, by the way. I had some of the people from that group called Rap Zero. I took her on the property this week.
Yes,
And she was so impressed by what can happen
Yeah.
on that place. And
Yeah.
it's pretty encouraging.
And there are some things that you do want to share with us this week about what has happened.
Yeah, well, let's get into it, why don't we?
Let's
Because
hit it off.
Sallywood is now in a full-fledged movement. I can report that we are now at the point where the helmets are necessary because different foundations are being dug
Nice.
so that the concrete can go in. And what we're
Nice.
talking about is an area where they will have the official guard entrance and the what we would call the site office, which is not going to be a temporary building, but a permanent building on the site.
Okay.
So when it comes time to go in there, and on top of that, there'll be kind of like an office where the model is at, but the model is also something to behold. And
It is. It is
one of the
indeed.
things that we need to do in one of these programs is to produce some pictures that, of course, you've got, and
got
some
a couple
footage,
of
which I think you have as well.
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
we could actually kind of roll
I
that
think
into it.
let's maybe put a couple of photos in.
Well, we could do that.
All right.
There's a lot of work that's getting ready to be done. Many of the key players were on the site this past week.
Okay.
And they're coming back. And when they come back, they're coming back with more powerful people. And as a matter of fact, the principal guy was pulled away while he was here by a telephone call from Cape Town, which also indicated that he had to have a breakfast with a very powerful individual in South Africa. So we were just saying, yes.
Things
this
are
thing-
happening.
I mean, it is happening, and we're just very, very grateful for all of that. And on top of all of that, I guess what I'd also like to produce is a document, ladies and gentlemen, which shows your crew,
Yeah.
the guys that are actually manning the cameras or standing in the background at the moment. And by and large, it says George's nie net the vakansieplet. Well, that
Which
in effect
means-
means is not quite yet a place to go for a vacation.
That's a very dangerous translation, especially because
Shows
it
you how
actually.
stupid I am.
No, you're not stupid. You just misread. It says, George, not only a place to come
Yes.
have a holiday, but also to come and make a movie or a TV series or a commercial.
Okay, so that's what the article is
That
about
is it,
in the
yeah.
George Herald.
Yeah. So basically, it's all about the whole development of the television side of the industry here in the Garden Route. You've got basically Heartland Broadcasting, you've got Garden Route Media, you've got the Media Box from Gauteng. We're all working towards not only training the locals, but see how we can find opportunities to produce something and have it broadcasted.
Yes.
Which means that we're also looking for funding so that people don't just produce stuff for free to get broadcasted. They need to be paid as well.
Well,
And I think that's our mission and what the newspaper clip kind of talked about.
As you know, our youngest son is in the US of A at the moment. And as a matter of fact, I had a talk with him recently and was really wonderful. And but one of the issues that he brought out was that they went all the way from LA to San Francisco to meet with a guy about a film project, and the guy never showed up.
What?
Yeah, and you see, those are the kind of things that people
it's
don't
disappointing.
people don't get it, because in the whole scheme of things, and there's a film project that he was also in contact with when he got back to LA, where he's going to be until August now, with Greg Creek, and his wife will be there too for a couple of weeks more.
Okay.
But having said that, there's another film project which I've been introduced to last week, and there's a lady in LA that wants John to do it. Well, I told the people that introduced me to it, there's only one condition about this. They'd better be talking about money, because you can't be doing films for nothing.
That's the thing.
It doesn't happen.
Yeah,
So,
it does cost money. There's a
people
lot
must live.
a lot of people working on a film production, no matter what the size is. There's a lot of different roles that need to be fulfilled, and
Yeah.
those guys do need to be paid. And
Well, having talked about money, just want to slip the topic a little bit to budgets.
budgets.
Because, as you know, we're also dealing with that with the Garden Route Film Office.
Yeah.
And we're trying to get figures together. We're trying to motivate for different things. And we're saying we need this and this and this for that,
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff. Is that your understanding of what a budget is about?
It is, because in my world, I mean, you do have to make sure that you've got enough money to do what's needed. It's there's a story that I know. You cannot start a project without all the necessary resources. It's like going to the bathroom without toilet paper.
Yeah.
If you start a project
Dangerous.
like that, you don't have it, then you're in trouble. So you need to,
Gevaarlijk.
baie gevaarlijk, very dangerous. So, you know, budget is there to really make sure that you will be able to do what you need to do. And a lot of times you've got a budget you can work from, and a lot of times you've got a target that you need to make, and you need to find the money to make that budget work. So yeah, no, we work with it a lot.
And you have to look at the componentry of what you have, of what you need in your industry, whatever you're doing.
Yeah, yeah.
Like in our industry, with the film industry, we've got to travel. We've also got to entertain.
do.
We've got to meet with people. And it's not easy to meet with people in your office oftentimes because there's so many interruptions. So you have to meet them at the right place.
Yes.
And then that's all kinds of sensitivity. And, you
Budgets,
know,
budgets.
budgets are all in the middle of it.
Now, you've got a question about budgets, and I'm wondering, so why are we talking about
Well,
budgets?
I'm talking because I'm wondering about some of the things that you're budgeting into your life.
Like what?
Like-
Philip,
like-
would you refer to at the moment?
Well, you know what I'm referring to. So, because it's one of those things about life, because you're going through a change of life.
I am going
It's
through...
not because you're your age either.
Oh, no, not at all, not at all. I'm as young as a spring chicken. Yeah, I've got a couple of very interesting changes that's happening
Okay.
that I have to make new budgets for. I cannot believe that you're actually talking to me about
And
it on air.
certain people are actually encouraging you in that in the direction
Yes.
of opening up a brand new valve of understanding of love and a deeper commitment in life
Yeah.
that is coming your way. But at the same time, certain people have come forward and said, "You get your butt over there, sir."
Yes.
Yes,
Okay,
they're going to
so-
make it possible to happen.
As you can see, I'm starting to blush now because I have no idea why you're touching on this very, very delicate subject now. But yes, budgets are very important because suddenly you're not budgeting for one person anymore. You're budgeting for two people.
Thank you very much.
And that's important because I need to count the cost before that. But I want to challenge you on that as well.
Okay, please
Because
do.
even though we are really budgeting to make a new budget work,
Yeah.
but the thing is, once again, God is saying, do you trust me for this budget as well?
Yeah.
Is he going to be providing for everything? So it might look like something is not doable, but if God said that I'll back you up, I've got you,
Yeah.
then you need to walk by faith and not by sight.
Well, there's one principle that I found in 50 years in the ministry and almost 72 years of living on planet Earth. God will always provide when you obey him.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
it's a simple statement, but it is so profound. I've never found, as the Bible says, God's seed ever begging bread. I've never seen it.
Yeah, and that's
Because you obey God. That's the point.
yeah,
And
yeah.
he's gonna watch over you. But in doing that, he shows himself personal to us in a very powerful way.
Yeah, and he always does it in his way. You know what? I actually recently recorded a short ministry moment where I talked about King Hezekiah. I think that's the English version of him. And they were attacked by the Assyrians, and God gave them a promise.
Yes.
And realistically speaking, everything pointed towards you guys are going to die.
Yeah.
But yet God said, no, I will save you. But there was nothing physically to hold on to that.
Yeah.
And you know what, exactly, and they just kept on. And these guys from Assyria said, we heard that you are trusting your God. We killed all these
Yeah.
other tribes with their gods.
Yes.
What's going to make that different from you guys? We're just going to take you out. And yet they kept on trusting God, even though everything around them said, you are not going to be able to do this.
Yeah.
And God came through for them. And he not only saved them, he went above and beyond that. And the question is, can we do that also in our budget, whether it's for our business or our personal life
Yeah.
or holiday or whatever? Can you trust God fully that if He promises that He will take care of you, can you stick to that no matter what?
Yeah. And you see, one of the divine principles that you find too is that God is not really happy when we accumulate debt or we put too much on plastic, if I can put it that way.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of wisdom in that. Because if I go to the States and I put my airfare onto the credit card, then it's either going to be a prepaid credit card
Yeah.
or it's going to be a debit card.
Yeah.
Because thereby we're going to know that we're operating according to a certain budget.
Yes. Yeah.
And so accumulated debt, is the bane of the Western world.
Yes.
I mean, the third world, they don't know about debt.
Yeah. Yeah.
The second world, not really understanding debt that much at all. But the first world, we understand what debt is all about, and we take too much upon ourselves. Like
Yeah.
Cal Thomas was saying in an article that he wrote back around the middle of this month. He said, America's greatness is falling deeper and deeper in debt. And I'll never forget
Yes.
when certain credit cards have been removed from certain banks because 40% of the people were delinquent on their payments. And that's crazy.
But isn't that the principle that banks survive on? Is that you need to be in debt because then they make their money out of that?
But that's not called debt. If you're budgeting it, that's not debt.
Okay.
You're going into debt if you are going over what you can live on.
Yeah.
So that's why we say stay within your means. Live within your means. And we could solve all the problems of the world in one fell swoop if everybody stayed within their means. If we began to stop getting engaged in this stupid thing called I want. I want. And I'm going to get it no matter what.
Yeah.
And you see,
self-focus.
oh, that's the bane of society. And you're going to get me going here,
You're
buddy.
very passionate about this one.
Yep.
All right, what
Well,
else do we have on our list?
Okay.
Ooh, here it comes.
The letter to the editor. We, here in George, we've had some very interesting times in recent days, in recent weeks. Jacques, as you know, we're working with over 1,000 kids a day.
Yes, you are.
But there's other people in the community that are also making a vast impact upon the highways and the byways, the places that nobody sees.
Yeah.
And we're looking at that, and you know as well as I do that there's a gentleman by the name of Andre Olivier that has made a tremendous sacrifice of his time, very talented man. And interestingly, I got a visitor from Bloemfontein where Andre used to be, and the work that he started up there is going strong even today.
Wonderful.
And now he's doing the same thing here in George
Okay.
with some of the guys on the streets trying to find jobs. Well, that became an issue in the newspapers because they said he's going overboard and all that kind of stuff.
Really?
But some of us took that to heart.
Okay.
And so a number of us, Jacques, get together on a week-by-week kind of a basis. We call ourselves the elders of the city.
And that's not because
all of us,
you're older.
it is, because all of us
Okay.
are older.
All right.
We're all with gray hair
elders.
and whatever. But the bottom line of our coming together was that oftentimes they know, people in the city know that we represent a certain group of people. And that's a pressure point. So we talked about the homeless people in George, and especially now. I mean, it's crazy out there. But somebody's got to do something about it. So we signed a document and wrote this article to the George Herald, which I think was in last week's newspaper.
Okay.
But the one thing that we pointed out, and I want to say this for the benefit of all of our listeners, if there's one thing we need to hear, it's what the Scripture says about these kind of things. And what the Bible says is this: there should be no poor among us. You should be happy to give the poor what they need, because then the Lord will make you successful in everything you do. That is why I command you to be generous with them.
Okay.
Okay, it says that in Deuteronomy. And the point that we're making there is that no, you cannot give money irresponsibly.
Yes, yes.
But what you can do is to take somebody by the hand and in a responsible way, give them a skill, give them an understanding, teach them certain things, make sure that what they're doing is creative and is within their means to do, but it's not just a handout, it's a
That's the
hand
thing.
up.
Now, see, that's I wanted to challenge you on this one is because, from my experience, what I've seen, the moment when you just give somebody on a street corner money,
Yes,
you're actually the problem because you're keeping them there.
yes.
They know that by standing there and using this absolutely sad face, they're going to get to your heart because a lot of people have got great hearts and they do want to help people, but they don't always have the right knowledge. Now, once again, this is my personal opinion. This is from what I've seen and what I've experienced. You know what? If you're going to give him money, you're going to keep him there. You do not have any idea what he's going to do with it, and you're kind of responsible for him there. The question is, can you take somebody like that? Because why are they there? Something in their lives happened. Something broke their self-image, their self-esteem down. That is the root that needs to be sorted out. Not giving them money. Well, bread is good, but even not bread. Because if you give bread, then once again, he is satisfied with where he is because he knows that somebody's going to give him a McDonald's or a bread or a something, and he doesn't need to do anything.
Well, usually there's a reference point for everybody that we see on the streets. Okay? We've learned them, we've learned to know them, and we've learned how to move away from them because we know they're reckless and irresponsible, and we also know that many times these guys will do anything for drugs. So
That
we
is the
understand
problem.
that. And
That
so
is the
we
problem.
move out of that realm. It was like just during the course of this week, we had a guy come to us as we were leaving our workplace on Craddock Street, and this guy was talking about how he needed money for the shelter and what have you, blah, blah, blah. I simply made a phone call to a friend of ours. And I said, is he responsible or not? And the guy on the other side of the line told me straight up, Philip, don't touch him with a 10-foot pole because
so sad.
he's a chancer. And,
So
and
sad.
so we know who these guys are, but we also know the ones that are trying to make a difference. And we're trying to get engaged, and that's why guys like Andre are quite the symbol, actually, because they have they're a symbol of sacrifice and of service.
Yeah.
And different people in the community are showing that. I mean, and one of the things that was written within the Archimax group was an article by S.E. Cupp. And one of the things she pointed out is that sacrifice, for instance, is 1.3 million active duty men and women in the U.S. military and reserve forces who volunteer to keep us safe and defend our way of life. That's sacrifice. And so we have a way of life. But what is our way of life? That's a question when I see something like that. I say to myself, that way of life, as we move on in our world today, that way of life requires that we don't overdo it on our own self, but we are willing to lay down our lives in one way or another to give assistance. When somebody on the street is being attacked, we're going to come to their assistance. We're going to be willing to sacrifice, like many people are not willing to do. On the other side, service is, for instance, running for public office. I spoke with a guy this week again, and he said, why don't we get more Christians, real Christians, running for public office? If you want to serve, or volunteer in a service organization like Life Community Services or whatever organization is making an impact in your community, or like Andre Olivier.
Yeah. And see, the thing is, my question that I want to ask you is, why do you want a Christian in politics?
Why do we? Well, number one, we want to put that into perspective because we want real Christians in politics.
That's what I'm aiming at. Because you get a lot of Christians that are just Christians by mouth, words, And then you've got Christians that actually would be able or willing to stand up. Like, for instance, what you guys did. You actually went up and you did. A lot of Christians don't do anything.
One of the things that we pointed out, and I put it in Facebook on my Facebook page this week, is this whole aspect about taking, the service side of things and making our lives count in whatever way possible, laying down whatever is necessary to make a difference in somebody's life. And I think, that's what we should be asking, is not just to be hearers of the word, but doers.
Yes, indeed.
God has called us to be engaged at the deepest level of life.
And this is not only we do it because that is what is expected of us, but we're actually doing it because out of reaction to His love in our lives.
Absolutely.
We want to do it because He did it for us, and this is our response to do what is good.
Yeah. I had one final topic,
Hoi.
because there's a gentleman, he's a Jewish guy. Don't think he's a Messianic Jew, from what I can see, but he's got a university called Prager University. He does some really, really interesting writings. But one of the things he wrote about already in May, over a month ago now, he talked about godless American colleges. It concerns me,
Yes.
because coming from the United States of America, quite frankly, I am of the opinion of this very, very clear mandate that we kind of took the college mandate a little bit too far. When we really needed to come up with what we call technology colleges, or, something that accentuates, something with your hands. And why do I say that? Because as I was speaking to one university student this week, there was a poll that was done, and 5% of the students that enter into college with one major will not finish. Only 5% will finish with that major, but 95% will not finish with that major when they finish college, or if they even finish college.
Yeah.
So what does that say? There's the necessity for students to kind of follow their hearts. What are you good at? Kind of a thing.
Yes.
But then there's this extra thing about Prager was talking about, which is that godless American colleges are now growing incrementally and exponentially all over the place. We've got too many colleges. That's the bottom line.
Okay.
They're not getting trained in the ways of God. And so what's happening is that they're following after certain things. In an article that he wrote, he was referring to a town that I was raised in.
Okay.
That where this is being accentuated and certain lifestyles are being accentuated. And because they've redefined in college what people really think about humanity, that certain things mankind is born with, and not that this is the way God made you,
Yeah.
okay, but I was born this way, and therefore, it's kind of like blaming God for the way that I am, and that's just crazy.
And we've seen from the Old Testament, proof of the pudding, if you don't stick to God's plans, He doesn't even really need to do anything, because your civilization falls apart anyways. If you look even back in history to the Greeks and those guys,
Yeah.
the moment that they accept these kind of different lifestyles and things, they usually end up losing their whole civilization.
And you're not getting a good education, too, if you're getting into a place at college level where somebody in their philosophical state of mind is teaching you how to hate certain people. That is not education.
True.
That's developing a bias. And you're doing it with a degree. It doesn't make it any better.
No.
Because you're accentuating certain things. And because the Bible is very, very specific. And then anybody that's a hate monger, I can name them, but I think I should not. And because
Well,
There are so many like this around.
We're back to my old story. You only can give what you've got. And if that's all
you
that
began
they've
the
got,
program with.
yeah, and then that's all they can give, and that's all. If you receive that and you build your life on it, then, well, that's not a lot to build on.
Well, brother, we've had a very, very interesting and a hot program today.
I think it's the hats.
I think there's something about it. We kept it on. As a matter of fact, ladies and gentlemen, I took this off deliberately. So we could,
Just so that you can have Sallywood
so
on
we
your
could have
head.
Sallywood City on. But you and I both know that next week is going to be a very, very special program.
very
And I
interesting
wanted to
one.
finish off because there's a very wonderful young man. Actually, I think he's in his 30s now.
Yeah.
Yeah, more, maybe even cutting into his 40s by now.
Yeah.
But Frank Rotenbach is going to be our guest
Yeah.
next week
If all goes well.
on Our World Today because he's booked it. I've sent him the questions. We're going to record it and we're going to play it a week from today.
Now,
And
he's the same actor that played in Faith Like Potatoes.
Faith Like Potatoes.
Yes.
He also played Hansi in the movie Hansi, and which was part of which was filmed right here in George.
Yes.
And then, of course, he's been in other roles like Steven Delon, and he had quite a prominent role in there, actually, for quite a period of time.
Yeah.
And he's been overseas. He's got quite a story to tell. He's in the city of George to speak at Hope Church. And that's going to be a very fascinating time. So what's happening is that we've been privileged to get this prominent actor on the South African scenario to come and be on this program. And we want the word to get out. So we're going to try
gonna
to
be good.
put it up.
It's going to be good.
And we're going to get some graphics and all kinds of stuff to promote that. And on that note, you got any further word to say?
You know what? This was a great program. Amazing things are happening. And I'm looking forward to what God is busy doing
Yes.
in our world today.
And we're going to come back to Our World Today again next week with some further stuff, as you all have heard now. And we're starting to get some people coming in here that are beginning to make this program become more interesting.
Yeah.
In the meanwhile, we need you to market it. And thank you for joining us today. And may you be blessed beyond measure as you go forward into this coming week. Take care and God bless. Bye-bye for now.